Alrighty then. Well, the quality of life. Yeah, it took me a little while to get to this one. This is the episode that really dives into the concept of artificial intelligence. Because, oh wait, Star Trek has gone there before many times. However, in this case, it's non-humanoid artificial intelligence that doesn't actually have a face and is just a machine that floats around or something and looks like a simple maintenance droid. Yeah, I called it a maintenance droid, like in Star Wars. Yeah, because that's basically what these are. These are Star Wars style droids in Star Trek. They don't look humanoid at all, but they have a level of intelligence that is at least pretty close to what an actual person would have. They were designed to be adaptable maintenance things where they don't need to be remotely controlled. You just tell them what they need to repair, and then they'll figure out how to repair it on their own. And one of the things they do that makes them particularly interesting is, you see this thing on the front? They have a built-in replicator function that allows them to replace this thing in the well, this is actually just a tool that it created to solve a particular problem. They can swap those in and out at will with whatever they have the ability to replicate. Now, this episode overall, when looking at it from a story writing perspective, the majority of the episode is an excuse to have a discussion about the concept of intelligent computers. And, the ethics of creating robots to act as what are, well, like I said, these are designed to be maintenance droids. And whether it's, ethical to have them be forced to be maintenance droids when, they're intelligent machines that are capable of thinking for themselves and doing a variety of other things that aren't involved with maintenance droids. And as we've seen in Star Wars, maintenance droids in Star Wars end up doing a whole lot of things that aren't maintenance purposes, too. So, hey, huh? I mean, yes, C-3PO is a protocol droid who is designed for purposes such as acting as a walking translator for large social functions, but BB-8 and C-3PO, wait, not C-3PO, R2-D2, were both set up. Actually, R2-D2 is an astromech droid, which also includes stellar navigation functions, in addition to the ability to repair spacecraft. BB-8 seems to be purely a repair droid, I think. Anyway, though, yeah. So this thing was designed as a repair droid to work with Federation tech. Now, it was not designed by humans. It was designed by a race called the Tyrans. Now, whether the Tyrans are a Federation member or not, I have no stinking clue. Although it would make sense for them to be a Federation member if they are building things on a defense contract, or actually, on this case, it's not even a defense contract. It's actually a economical one. Yeah, because okay, so the core of the excuse for plot to happen is a thing called a particle fountain. What these is these are a way of taking ore from a planet, moon, asteroid, whatever, and pulling it out of the location where it was to the particle fountain, and thus allowing you to deep core mine without actually even being planet side. Sounds cool. Yeah, the technology is fantastically expensive and was difficult to make work properly, and the people building it needed maintenance droids in order to be able to keep the thing running properly. Otherwise, it would have like imploded or self-destructed or something without having the maintenance droids working on it. And even as it is, it had a critical failure and um, wasn't completely destroyed, but was damaged badly enough, even with the maintenance droids helping work on it, that it would have. It was said that it would take like 2 years or something to repair and get back into working order. Yeah, see. Now, the particle fountain thing is one of those sci-fi solutions to mundane problems where yes, extracting ore from a planet or moon and relocating it to space is something that I would expect to be not a problem in the short term, but one of those things where it's a matter of scale that determines how much of a problem it is. And when you want to say move 1,000 tons of ore, you can't just teleport it using a transporter. That's a fantastic amount of energy to pull that much ore. And hence the reason why they came up with a particle fountain, I guess. Anyway, though. So, it was this project that where the exocomps were being used as maintenance droids in order to keep the thing running because wasn't reliable enough for the Tyrans to actually do all of the maintenance themselves. The project lead was this woman by the name of Farallon. Now, she's the inventor of the particle fountain technology. Hasn't perfected it yet. And as you can see here, she's on board the Enterprise talking to someone. Because, yeah, that's one of their MSDs in the background. And they spent a lot of time talking to people on board the Enterprise about the engineering challenges related to making the particle fountain work, so on and so forth, and eventually the ethical implications of having sentient computer controlled droids acting as maintenance personnel. Anyways, that's one of those things that is very, very strange in TNG because of the fact that they have holodeck characters that come to life and become sentient and start um trying to take over the ship, and it's like this is an old problem, this isn't new. The only thing that makes this interesting is the fact that it is the Tyrans making exocomps to do the whole like sentient computer bit and not just, yet another Federation computer doing the same thing. Although the Tyrans are apparently working for the Federation because this woman here was designing the particle fountain so that the Federation could use it. So, again, mining technology developed for the Federation by someone who might be a Federation citizen. We don't really know. See, there's like one Tyran that shows up outside this episode, and she lived on the planet Kefka 4, and something involving Dax. What exactly the whole thing why they used a Tyran for this is seemingly solely that they were reusing the makeup and figured like, whatever. We don't have enough established about this race to be able to say that they would or wouldn't do it. So yeah, is Kefka a Federation world though? Okay, there's a Federation consulate there. Hmm. Hmm. Now that's an interesting thing because this guy is a Trill. He had a Tyran as an assistant who, you know, the referring to them as a native does kind of sort of imply that maybe they're not Federation members, but well, Kefka isn't a planet that's the or isn't the Tyran homeworld. So I'm kind of baffled about referring to a Tyran as a native of Kefka. Again, though, is I guess you could justify that as someone who was born and raised on Kefka, which in turn would imply that the Tyrans are a race that has in fact expanded to multiple solar systems. If Kefka has a population of Tyrans that has been there for more than one generation. Hmm. We have very, very little information about this planet, so hard to say. Don't know if it's a Federation member world. Which again was the entire point I was looking at with this is whether or not the Tyrans count as Federation members. If you're going to use them in a story, especially if it's a story set um, after TNG, you could call them Federation members if you want. It's one of those things where it's like attempting to ascertain the meaning of having a Federation consulate on Kefka doesn't really help a whole lot. Tyran system. What do we have here? Dum 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 dum. Doesn't say whether it is a Federation member or not. Dum dum dum. Oh, a double planet. Ooh, e. Okay, that's a weird thing because of the fact that Tyran 7A is treated as an uninhabitable object because it's the target of the giant mining laser thing that they call a particle fountain. Um, which you would expect if this was a habitable world that using a particle fountain to mine it would cause uh, vast ecological damage. So presumably this is not, in fact, a habitable world. Doesn't really look like it. Looks like a barren hunk of brown rock. Anyways, moving on. We still don't know if this is a Federation member, but again, you could call it that. They're definitely a Federation ally at the bare minimum. Anyway, honestly, that's about it for this one. Like, there's not really a whole lot left here. It's like, yes, there's the whole thing of like, self-aware computers, ooh, things, stuff. Uh, yeah. This episode doesn't really have anything particularly interesting to say about that. Because, like, it's retreading the ground that's been done several times in the past, where someone finds some sort of a mechanical something and decides that it's intelligent enough to count as a. Yes, in Star Trek, they refer to it as a living thing, which by this standard, Terminators would be considered living, which, no, they're robots. They're intelligent robots, but they're still robots. Well, actually, you know what? Some Terminators actually are true robots. Some of them are androids. It's one of those things where it's like some of them have the ability to think for themselves, and some Terminators actually don't have the ability to think for themselves. It's an interesting quirk with the franchise, is that not all Terminators actually think for themselves, but several of them are actually quite creative and very, very dangerous because of the fact that you have to outthink them or die, and good luck with that. Anyways, so yeah, the self-aware megalomaniacal computers thing doesn't come up in this episode. Not this episode. And that is actually one of those things where part of the reason why Lower Decks went that direction with the exocomps, or a specific exocomp named Peanut Hamper, is that the nature of them being intelligent uh, beings or what have you, um, it gives them the opportunity to be evil jerks if they really want to. And that is something that you could play on if you actually use them in a story, because, anything that has the ability to choose between good or evil could, in theory, make the evil choice. And that is actually something that's interesting to play with in stories where you have sentient computers. And this is basically just a sentient computer with a rather small but highly advanced mechanical body. It's not particularly interesting looking on the outside, but, again, it's the same principles as R2-D2. It's like, yes, it looks like a trash can with wheels, but it's a trash can with wheels that can do a variety of interesting things. And this, because they have the ability to replicate tools and actually just like swap out the tool thing attached to the front, actually gives them very versatile abilities. And yes, I have actually heard of people deciding they wanted to RP as exocomps in Star Trek Adventures. Such things can happen. And honestly, if your players actually want to try that, hey, if you feel like letting them, hey, I'm not going to try to stop you. uh, honestly, it's an interesting idea. And that's about it for this episode. It's all a big, complicated story about the importance of sentient robots and whether or not having sentient robots is actually a good thing. And yeah, that's about it. The simple idea premise here is what makes this fertile for putting your own spin on it, because different scenario, different kind of robot. Ooh, maybe throw in a twist, like some of them actually are evil, and the reason the facility is having problems is that some of them are sabotaging it, maybe, and you have to figure out which ones. That actually would be an interesting twist. In this particular episode, it was just the fact that this person who designed the particle fountain just didn't do a particularly stellar job of making the thing reliable. She was, shall we say, pushing the boundaries a little too hard and made something that didn't work as well as she wanted it to, because it was barely able to do what she wanted. And I think that's good for this. Oh yeah, also, I think this is the inside of a room on board the particle fountain, because the exocomps were working inside the particle fountain space station thingy. So this would be Tyran architecture. Ooh, that's a fun little side note. All right, see you guys later.